Dead Men Tell No Tales. Illustrations and story by J.V. Sheep. Sue is loving her new home on Tuescop Island. The waters are very clean, and the skies couldn't be any more blue. Meeting new faces every day was the best, the cherry ice cream raccoon thought to herself. She even landed herself a little side job at a local fish market down by Beach City. But it did come with some consequences. It wasn't moving heavy crates and stocking items that bothered her, nor the smell of fish, but the fact that she has to do with her manager's tall tales of the sea. He would always find an excuse to talk about his time out on sea and how much he loved it, and which did drive Sue bonkers at times. But other than that, the pay was good, and the people were nice. During her lunch break one day, Thread had come into the shop in search of some mackerel. Sue saw that familiar mouse and waved. "Hey, I know you. You're that blue mouse I saw the other day. Forgive me, but I forgot to ask for your name." "Oh, fancy meeting you here. My name is Thread," she said as she made her way over to where Sue was sitting. "I never took you to be into fish. It's such a smelly and heart-wrenching job handling all those poor fishies, but we all have to eat eventually," Thread said as she opened a bag of chips to munch on. Someone has to do it. Besides, I don't actually eat the fish here. I'm more of a hamburger gal myself," said Sue as she took a bite out of one. Thread asked how her orange ice cream fennec friend was doing, and Sue replied that she was doing okay. When asked what made her want to come to Tuescop, it was the quiet environments and job opportunities the island had for coldies far and wide that made Sue want to move. Coldies were the species these ice cream creatures were called. It was a long trip by boat, too. About 2 days at best it took to get here, all the way from Frown Island. "Oh dear," said Thread. "I hope you had a safe trip coming from the east. It's very dangerous, I heard. The storms are very rough, and not to mention the pirates that travel out there."
"Pirates?"
giggled Sue. "What are you on about, lassie? There's no such thing as pirates. Arg, they be real, all right. But it's not the pirates you should be worried about." All the customers, including Sue and Thread, looked over at the manager as he was standing behind a display case of fish heads. "The pirates mean no harm to coldies like us, but the sailor does not care if he human, animal, or even a coldie." And with a cold and groggy voice, he said 2 forbidden words that brought a chill even to the biggest of coldies. "Davy Jones." Everyone looked at each other with fear in their eyes, all except Sue, who did not know the tale of Davy Jones. "Who is this Davy Jones? And if he's caught hurting any of my friends, then they will soon get a taste of my 2 sour cherries," she exclaimed as she balled her hands into a pair of fists. The manager took a seat and proceeded to tell Sue the tale of Davy Jones. He was a noble sailor, a kind soul who could never hurt a fly. Every person loved him while every pirate feared him. One day, he discovered the island of Tuescop and was greeted with kindness by the locals. They offered him food and supplies for his journeys. They saw him as a protector, because as soon as pirates saw his ship, the Fallen Angel, they would immediately avoid the island without a second thought. However, rumors about Davy Jones being a pirate in disguise spread like wildfire thanks to the few pirates that washed ashore. Everyone on the island now treated him so rudely afterwards. It got so bad that the citizens ran Davy Jones and his crew out of the island. But they ran him out so quickly he forgot to get his map and compass, thus traveling the seas blind. Once word got out that Davy Jones was innocent, it was all too late. He traveled east in hopes to find the neighboring ships, but was ambushed by even more pirates. He took care of them quickly, but it left him, his ship, and his crew in a critical state. As if it couldn't get any worse, a storm had brewed, and down he and his crew went. He was so blinded by resentment and rage that he would return as a ghost and hunt the seas to destroy anyone he encounters. Every 7 years he would come to land to release his anger on any living individual who wronged him and his crew. No longer being the kind soul he was when he was alive, but a ghoul with nothing but hate as his only fuel. Nobody said a word. They couldn't conjure a single thing to say. "And you think all that load of rubbish is real?" the cherry raccoon said with a look of annoyance. She did not believe a single word of that story. "Sue," went Thread as she held her blueberries tight, "with all due respect, this is no laughing matter. He is not someone to joke about." "Aye, it be true," said the manager while lighting his old wooden pipe. "That was nearly centuries ago, and he still holds a huge grudge to this day, hence why this area specifically has a curfew. Beach City has made it clear that everyone must not be outside between 12 and 5 a.m. They plan to keep it that way." Night had fallen when Sue had finished her final hour. Usually, this is where she'd phone her roommate to come pick her up, but not a single coin did she process when she went to the nearest phone booth. "Ah, no money. Guess I'll walk myself home then," she said while walking down the street. Even though she did not believe it, she couldn't help but have her thoughts linger about her boss's tale of Davy Jones. Scary noises echoed through the streets. The seaside was beautiful with its crystal-clear waters and bright yellow sand during the day, but at night the waters were cold and rough while the sand was dead white. Clank! Went an old garbage lid, scaring the living daylights out of her when she turned to find it on the ground. Sue tried to put on a brave face the best she could, but the more she kept walking, the more strange noises would occur. "There's no such thing as ghosts. There's no such thing as ghosts," she said over and over again. Her hole began to shiver like a maraca. Her legs began to run faster as she's ever ran before. Every corner looked the same to her, as if her feet were then glued to the ground. Her legs became still as a statue. When out on the shore, she saw something that froze her in place. A dark wooden galleon, parked by the docks. Below, she did not see coldies. She could see humans in ragged uniforms carrying crates and boxes and speaking with very gruffy voices. They did not seem friendly at all. They looked as if they hadn't eaten in days, with a blue aura around their bodies. She began to shake very violently. Her blissfulness was as dead, like the sight in front of her. But what terrified the red raccoon the most was when the captain of the crew looked at Sue and yelled, "Have you seen my compass and map, little lassie?" Without a single word or thought, she sprinted the other way as fast as her legs would carry. Down the streets and through the trees, she did not care where she was going anymore. All she cared was to get away from the beach as fast as possible. The next morning, her roommate, Penny, the orange ice cream fennec, went out to search for Sue. She was madly worried. Sue hadn't come home that night, and she missed her breakfast. "Have you seen a red raccoon anywhere?" she said while holding up a photo to a smartly dressed man, but he hadn't. Tag also agreed to help search for Sue. He did need a break from delivering bread all morning. Everybody in the area searched high and low for Sue, but she was nowhere to be found. That was until Needles found her hat near a thick gathering of trees. If she was to be anywhere, she would be in there. They called out her name once, then another, and then another, until she'd finally emerged from the darkness. "Sue!" shouted Penny as she ran to hug her best friend, who was covered in twigs and leaves. She'd been hiding in the woods all night long. "Where have you been? I thought something had happened to you." Sue did not know what to say. She felt super weak and wanted to go home. Even her manager took pity and decided she should take the day off. She made a full recovery in a matter of hours, fortunately. Whether it was just the night playing tricks on her, or she really did see him at the beach, it wouldn't matter, she thought. It was not like they can do anything about it. At least she will be prepared in the next 7 years. Thank you for reading. Stay tuned for more stories with Button and Company.